Hi, I'm Mr. eTutor, your mystery tutor here at mysterytutor.com, and welcome to video module 6-12. In this module, I'll lay out my 9-step attack plan for approaching SAT Math multiple choice questions. The problem with laying out a step-by-step plan for multiple choice math questions is that math questions are highly variable. On the other sections of the SAT, every single question looks more or less like every single other question. But on the SAT Math section, each question can involve a variety of different factors, making them look very, very different from one another. So that makes our job a little bit more challenging when we try to come up with a step-by-step process that'll work for every single math question. But don't worry, I've managed to do it anyway. So here's my 9-step plan. The first step is to make sure we know all the definitions of all the words in every math question that we try to answer. If you're looking at a math question and it involves a term that you're not sure of, you almost certainly will not be able to answer the question. By the way, this is very different from sentence completion questions. In sentence completion questions, as we've seen, when we don't know all the words in the answer choices, it's actually not that bad. But on an SAT math question, if you find a word you're not familiar with, you're probably going to want to abandon ship. So remember, step 1, make sure you know all the definitions. If you see the phrase consecutive integers, make sure you know what that means. If you see the word prime number, make sure you know that 0 and 1 are not prime numbers, and so on. The definition step is actually very quick. In fact, usually you'll do it subconsciously without even knowing about it. But get into the habit of looking at every single math question that you see from now on and making sure you know all the words. Remember, math is a very rigorous discipline, and it involves definitions. After your quick subconscious check of all the definitions in the problem, you want to look at any diagrams that might be provided. And remember to ask yourself those 2 questions we discussed in Module 6-8. First, is this diagram drawn to scale? And second, is there information omitted from the diagram but included in the diagram's description? If you'd like a refresher on how to use those 2 questions, please refer back to video Module 6-8 after watching this module. After we consider the diagrams in the question, we want to take a look at all the answer choices. Remember, answer choices can tell us a lot. Sometimes they'll conform to set standards, like the factor of 2 standard or the grouping standard. But even when they don't conform to those standards, they'll often give away a lot of information about what the correct answer to the question should look like. For example, if all of the answer choices are fractions, we know we want to be thinking in terms of fractions. If they're all expressions with absolute value in them, then we know we want to be thinking in terms of absolute value. Also remember that every answer choice can tell you something, not just the correct answer choice. Look for any relationships among the answer choices, and that will help you figure out what's going on as well. Look at the question and make sure you know exactly what you're being asked to find, whether it's the length of a line segment, the value of a variable, or the size of an angle. As with anything else in life, you won't be able to succeed if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish. After you've identified the objective for the question, step 5 is to identify the given information in the question. Remember that every SAT 1 question involves enough information for you to find the answer. If there are any formulas you need to know, remember that those are provided in the test as well. After you've identified the objective of the question and the information provided in the question, step 6 is to think about a way to create the information required from the information given. When you try to do this, remember, you only need to think about the basic math concepts that are allowed to appear on the SAT. If you'd like an extensive list of those concepts, with expert explanations of how to use them and exactly what can appear on the test and what can't, remember to sign up for our free email service. It's right over there to the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll send you that document automatically. So remember, the goal in this step is to think about a way that you can build a bridge from the given information to the requested information using only the concepts that are allowed to appear on the SAT. In other words, if the question seems to be giving you a lot of information about circles, think about the things the SAT is allowed to ask you about circles. It can only ask you about diameter, radius, area, and circumference. That's it. So some combination of those facts has to be enough to help you get from what's given to what's required. After you've thought about a good way to connect the given information to the requested information using only the SAT math concepts, you want to think about a way that you can enact a solution in less than 30 seconds. Remember, as we've already said, every single SAT math question can be answered in less than 30 seconds if we find the fastest possible solution. And we want to get into the habit of finding the fastest possible solution, because the fastest solutions are often the simplest and most repetitive solutions. We've already seen several examples of ways to find 30-second solutions. For example, you can often measure diagrams that are drawn to scale. You can often work backwards from answer choices using standards that we've discussed. Once you've thought about a good way to solve the problem in less than 30 seconds, then, and only then, do you want to try to actually solve the problem. Most students make a huge mistake on the SAT math section. They read a question, and practically before they're finished reading, they have their pencil in their hands and they're trying to work out a solution. This is a horrible way to proceed, because it keeps you confused and panicky throughout the test. Remember, every time you read the question, you want to pause for a moment, consider everything about the question, all the steps we've discussed so far, and think to yourself, what is the smartest, fastest way for me to answer this question? Only after you've determined what that would be, do you want to try the solution itself. So, step 8 is, go ahead and actually enact the 30-second solution that you thought of in step 7. After the 30-second solution has been enacted, step 9 is a simple check of all the work you did. Remember, you can use diagrams to help you check, you can use answer choices, you can simply go over your work again and make sure you crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, whatever you want, but do some kind of a check. After failing to pay proper attention to the definitions of words, the second most popular reason for students to do poorly on the SAT math section is that they don't check their work and they make silly mistakes. Alright, so that's it. That's my basic 9-step plan in a nutshell. Now, I want to stress, this is not the only correct way to approach an SAT math question. Anything you do that works consistently is fine. But this is my way, and I highly recommend you consider using it, at least on questions that don't seem immediately obvious. Thanks for watching. Keep watching the next module to see how to attack a question that's not multiple choice, and remember, it's easier than you think.